This is Doug Vahrenberg, and welcome back to another set of tips and tricks. And today we're going to talk about Humminbird 2D sonar and how to get the most out of it. Humminbird has some really unique features in their 2D sonar system that I think simply makes them better. There's two different modes. There's clear mode, max mode. We'll get into that. We'll get into how to adjust it so you can become a better 2D sonar user and use it to help you catch more fish. So let's get in and check out all the great features in this Humminbird. Okay, this is 2D sonar. We're in Switchfire Max. We're in factory defaults, which if you hit your menu button, you'll see we're at sensitivity 10 and chart speed of 5. Now, one thing about sensitivity is you can reduce that clutter on the screen and show only the fish. Like right here, we're seeing a lot of bait fish up here. We're seeing a lot of fish. Chart speed is going to help you define how a fish displayed. If you come down here and you increase the chart speed, you'll watch a lot longer than with a slower chart speed, but it refreshes the data faster. If you're vertical fishing, I like to crank up the chart speed. Look at this brush pile down here. Here's some fish. But if you bring that chart speed down, it'll help make that fish more related to exactly the way you are. Now, one of the things with being in original color palette, we'll go through this, but my strongest returns are the top here, the reds. My weakest returns are the blue. One thing about Humminbird sonar is the more directly that fish is below the boat, the stronger the return. If that fish is sitting right under the if we use this Humminbird decal as the transducer, this is the strongest area of signal, this middle part of the band, because you know, as we've mentioned before, as 2D sonar goes, it gets wider as we go. The bigger the cone, it's cone shaped in every direction. That fish was right underneath the boat there. So you can see we're getting good fish displays here in the 25-foot range, all the way from about 10 foot. If we look at this black line, that is our temp line. That tells us our average temperature, so you don't have to pay attention to the numbers. Now here's a few tweaks in the max mode. You can adjust as we talked about, adjusting the sensitivity. You can adjust it so low that it's hard to see fish. So what you want to do is use this like a contrast control sensitivity and get a good balance where you can start seeing the fish. But do you see how this clutter starts showing up down here in deeper water? That's probably a temperature climb starting to show up here. So you want to just back it where we get a good balance. And max mode is going to be a little stronger because it's unfiltered data. Remember, clear mode, we filter out only the most intense part of the data. In max mode, it is unfiltered data. Look at this big water bait fish. Wow. You can see this is our real-time sonar. Our real-time sonar is showing exactly what's happening at the beginning. So if you're a vertical fisherman, this is what we want to look at. We're going to look at this. We're going to see the fish here. We're going to see these are rocks down on the bottom. You can find a lot of fish with 2D sonar. Adjust your chart speed down. We'll slow it down. I recommend running close to your boat speed. We're at 3.9 mile an hour. At least match your boat speed, or crank it up just a hair if you're looking for fish in 2D sonar. Now if you look here, this was our max mode and we've gone to clear mode. Clear mode looks at that most intense part of the sonar beam. It filters out the trash and the clutter, the microbes, the plankton, the bacteria, that stuff. This is in factory defaults. We can crank it up and we can add that data if we want to. You can see there, we cranked up the sensitivity. Look at this nice arch here. Remember, a fish that arches if it travels into the cone here, it's farther distance if this was the transducer than it is when it's directly below. So right here, it came into the sonar beam. We went over the top. That's why it's higher there. And as it leaves, it starts building another trail. Now what that tells me is that fish is stationary. It's inactive. A fish that's moving up, a fish that changes, is going to be a more active active fish than a fish that is just stationary and produces a real good crisp arch. So same thing with clear mode. We want to adjust the sensitivity just to get the clutter out. And one of the reasons I like to do that is because of this red. When I see red, that fish is directly below the transducer. It's not off to the sides out here, it's underneath. The weaker the returns get, the farther out in the cone angle that fish is. So if you're vertical fishing and you're fishing for that exact fish, directly below the boat. Chart speed's the same thing. In clear mode, you can crank it up or you can slow it down. Cranking it up is just going to play the data faster. In clear mode works best in shallow water because it automatically adjusts the power, so you can maintain that good bottom reading. Now, one of the things I like to do is with my 2D sonar is use my Lake Master maps. And if you look here, we are matching the map to the contours here. We can zoom in and we can actually see those exact contours on our map. And if you're looking for fish, one of the things you can do is we're going to come down here and we're going to split our position so we can see those fish a lot better. We put a little sliver of map, we put a lot of 2D sonar, and we go out here and we start searching. We're going to go to active side left. If you look at your green arrow, that's which side's active. There's a brush pile down here. The other things, if you hit menu twice, you go to active. The 200 kilohertz is our 20 degree cone, which gives us our highest level of detail, but 83 kilohertz is going to give us our deepest penetration. As far as surface clutter, you can adjust to 83 and you can do 283. I like 200 myself because it gives me the most detail and it's a little more pinpoint accuracy. If you look at our color palettes, this is the palette 1, which starts at yellow is our highest returns, black is our weakest returns. So our weak returns in this area are going to be a little bit harder to distinguish, but you see those yellows there? That's my strongest return. So whatever works for your eyes to, as far as seeing the fish, to me, red stands out. I like that original color palette. You have palette 2, which is yellow to dark blues. The yellows here are jumping out as stronger returns. It's a little bit harder to see there. Now palette 3 is very similar to palette 1, where you've got more maroon versus blue. There you can see that strong return of that fish. We've also got some other features we call inverse, which is a black and white. We've got a green. Just remember your strength of return here. And here's a gray palette. Look at those strong returns of those real black marks there. I hope that helps you understand a little bit about color palettes and why I choose what I do. Red is very easy for my eyes to see and jump out that I need to stop fish. Those are fish. Those are directly below the boat fish. You can turn the depth lines on and off if we don't want to see the depth lines. Your noise filter will help get rid of clutter if you've got electrical noise coming from your boat. Freshwater type is where I would set. We've got the dual beam connected. The color bar is that bar there. That shows your strength of return. And I recommend if you're getting started with 2D sonar to use the color bar, because that's going to help you learn those strong returns to those weak returns. The temp graph is this line up here. If we look, we don't have to follow a number. We can see that warming and cooling trending of water, and I don't have to remember what number it was. If it was 80.2 or 80.3, I know by looking at this line if it's cooler or warmer. That's what this black line is, and you can get rid of it by just turning that off right there. That removed the line, that turns it back on. That's just a couple little tips to help you get more out of your 2D sonar. They're a really nice feature, and they really help you find fish. You got to remember that 200 kilohertz is only a 20 degree cone, so it's a third of depth. So we're in 24 foot of water, we're looking at an 8 foot circle. If we're in 60-degree cone with our 83 kilohertz, we're looking at equal to depth. So we're in that 24 foot of water, we're looking at 24 foot of bottom cover. Now one thing you can do, if you want to mark, you can go over here and we want to mark those fish, we can hit boom right there and bam, we've saved a waypoint on them. Now a little bit about this view. This view is what we're doing is we're zooming in on the bottom here. We're 2 times zoom. If you want to zoom in more, you can zoom in, you can zoom out of what is in the box here. And you can adjust your zoom width. You can make it wide, narrow, medium, or narrow. What that does is this is a regular sonar, this is the zoomed area. So I can look over here if I want to zoom in on that area, is you can set you a lower range. We'll come down here, we're going to set it at 30 foot. If you want to help blow this screen up, we're going to give it just a little more. What that does is now we're looking at 0 to 34. If you've got this M here, you've got it set on bottom lock, and that helps blow those 2D sonar data, that 2D sonar data up, so you can see it a lot better. You're more concerned at what's between the bottom and the surface here, not actually what's underneath of that. So you use that lower range here. That's going to help you set and help you look at fish. Now here's one other screen that may become helpful to you. This is our 200 kilohertz, this is our 83 kilohertz. You can see the detail in the 20-degree cone. Our 60-degree cone is our 83 kilohertz, and you can see we're getting a lot more detail. Now look at all these fish stacked up out here. I mean, boom, 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 boom. These are fish. This is what you're looking for. You're trying to find big schools of fish. And one of the things to remember, if all else fails, you can come right over here to setup, come down to restore defaults. When you do that, you go back to factory settings, and anything you played with is wiped out, gone back to the sonar settings. It does not change your navigation data or your waypoints. It only affects your settings that you change. So don't have any fear. If you jack something up, just go hit restore defaults and bam, you're going back to the exact settings that Humminbird set the unit up with, and you can start over from there. Now wasn't that really awesome? Checking out the 2D sonar systems that Humminbird has to offer. We got 2 sonar systems to help you catch more fish. Clear mode, max mode. They're tools to help you get out here, find the fish, be able to catch the fish, and enjoy your time on the water. That's what it's all about, is enjoying the time that limited time that you have. If you can invest a little bit of time to go out here and learn how to use the settings and adjust them. I don't use one, it's not a set and forget, but it's not very hard. I mean, just adjusting that sensitivity up just a little bit up and down, doesn't that help make those fish pop out at you? It's simple stuff like that, so you can get more out of your unit and become an advanced user of your electronics and get more out of your investment. Thank you for tuning in to another set of tips and tricks, and tune in next time as we go more in depth about the products from Humminbird and all my fine sponsors, so you can get more out of your investment and become a better fisherman and catch more fish. Thank you, and tune in next time.